Let's talk about the Joint Commission and the role a Joint Commission plays in reviewing a hospital's performance.
Thank you.
Mr. Hunter.
Good afternoon, Dr. Court. Good afternoon, Mr. Hunter.
I thought you said you didn't have a report.
I don't know, sir. You're not
listening.
Perhaps I'm not being clear today. I do not have access to the 2018 report.
That sound was Hunter's soul leaving his body.
I thought I buried this Dracula several years ago. But
Do you have an opinion to a reasonable management probability that the failure of the medical executive committee to address this caused or contributed to the harm of Mike Kowalski?
Objection beyond scope.
You can answer.
Thank you. I do believe that this failure on the part of the governing body contributed.
And this particular individual happens to also be remarkably charismatic and have phenomenal hair to combine with my, I guess, phenomenal beard.
At 2, Rob, you're going to jump on the good hair stuff too? Really?
Dude, why not? I mean, I can't keep this thing in order.
Thank you for that. And speaking of looking fabulous, coming to the program right now, Dr. Joe Corcoran, who we have also labeled here as Dr. Goodhair. How are you?
I'm great. Can you...
Hey, guys. Welcome to the Dr. Goodhair Studios. And welcome to, and I think tonight's going to be pretty cool. And I will tell you, I think there's a good chance that this could get a little spicy, depending on how everybody behaves themselves tonight. Due to multiple requests, I have brought Charlie the Wonder Dog in for a special guest appearance tonight. Charlie is in desperate need of a bath, so if anybody is in the area, bring your dog shampoo. I know somebody who's waiting for you. But Charlie is hanging out with me tonight, and still thinking that I have some table scraps that I can share with him, but he's on his own tonight. So, but so many of you ask about Charlie on a regular basis that just seemed like the right thing to do, to bring him in for a little while. And he was patient with me, and I know y'all love him almost as much as I do. So it's funny because we were at a fundraiser for my son's high school on Saturday night, and they were auctioning off a mini Aussie doodle. So it's a part miniature Aussie Shepherd and a part poodle, I guess. I don't know. And so, he was adorable, don't get me wrong. But as we're heading out the door, my wife takes a look at the list of auction items and says, oh, let's, can we make a run at the dog? And I turned around to Charlie, who is a rescue dog, so we do not have papers on him, but we're pretty sure that Charlie is mostly a Shih Tzu with a little bit of Havanese, because he's got that underbite, like Thurston Howell III. And so our little rescue dog, I looked him square in the eyes and said, Mommy's trying to replace you, but I promise I won't let her do that. So he knows where his bread is buttered. So anyway, thank you for welcoming me and Charlie into your screens tonight, and thrilled to be joined by my awesome moderators. And I see Gothic Brina is in the house, and I see that Jules is in the house, and Jules is actually going to be doing double duty tonight. She's going to jump in since she knows every letter of every word that has been filed into the Sarasota County Clerk of Court's docket. And we're going to run through a couple of items tonight because there has been some interesting developments happening well beneath the surface, but noteworthy nonetheless. And of course, I want to say thanks to one of the most talented graphic designers, graphic artists that I've had the pleasure of working with, Sally. Sally is from the UK. And she is in the stream tonight, and I will tell you, she stays up way later than I do, way past her bedtime. So thank you for all the fabulous artwork that you contribute, and you've really fundamentally changed the look of how the screen appears when we do these shows. So Sally, thank you for all your talent. And I don't know if Judy Lynn is here yet, and I don't know if Calypson's Vixen is here yet, but they also do a wonderful job moderating for me. So happy to have the crew all together. So I want to start with some news. Long time coming. It's relatively minor, but I think several folks will be happy to hear this. I finally, as of today, have a dedicated email address for the advocates. Sure, fire truck just went by. I have a dedicated email address for the advocates to use. And so I'll try to get it scrolling across the bottom of the screen at some point this evening, but it is ask CMO Dr. Joe at gmail.com. Ask CMO Dr. Joe at gmail.com. And now that is going to be only for use with this channel. And so it will help me make sure that I can respond in real time, or in reasonably good real time, that is. Thank you, Gothic Brina, for putting that up. And thank you to Sally for getting it scrolling so quickly. Thanks. The email that had been listed as the email is actually a working email for me. So I've had some messages come in and get jumbled up and get lost. So my apologies for anyone that I haven't responded to. I do try to take this job very seriously. This commitment very seriously, and make sure that that we are in fact, that I am in fact keeping up with you. I try to respond to all the comments, and even to the replies to the comments whenever I see them come in. And I do try to make sure that I answer your questions when you send me messages. I've gotten DMs on the Twitter X feed, which is at CMO Dr. Joe. And so, just trying to be accessible. And like I said, one of the things that I really want to develop across 2024, and technologically, I'm nowhere near it yet, but I want to make this format much more interactive. I want folks showing up not only in the comments, and I appreciate all the super chats. Thank you so much for that. It's a great way to stand out, but I try to track the questions as they're coming in, whether they're super chat or comments. But I also know that many of you have tried to kind of give me longer form communications, and the email is really ideal for that. So finally did it. Finally got a dedicated email address. So thank you for your patience with me. Another thing that I want to mention tonight, I've talked about broadly some of the things that I want to do with this channel. And, of course, we're going to be doing more and more about how to advocate, how to be effective in advocating for yourself and for your loved ones, and even for your neighbors that you're just trying to help out. maybe you like them a lot, but don't quite love them. You still want to help them, right? Because that's who we are. We're advocates, right? So we will be doing more and more about that. But one of the other things that I want to talk to you about across the year is I want to introduce you to some people who simply do the right thing, who live their lives the right way, who focus on doing the right thing, and who really understand that their life has abundance and they want to pay it forward. They want to share it. They want to help lift other people up. I'm not young. And in my professional career and in my personal life, I have met many, many, many successful people. And some of them are up here because they've pushed others down here. Candidly, I don't have a ton of time in my life for them unless I have to. The successful people that I like to surround myself with are those that work, commit, execute, and get it done, and they rise up. But as they're ascending, they're reaching back and they're helping to pull others up with them. And that's a long way of talking about a company that, let me make it clear, I am not affiliated with the company. I don't make any money by talking about them or anything else, but I have noticed that they have been advertising more and more and more on this channel. And the company is called Spoonful of Comfort, spoonfulofcomfort.com. Full disclosure, the owners, they have become friends of mine over the years. They're fabulous. They are a family first and business owners second, successful in both. But Spoonful of Comfort was started by a mom and a housewife. And Marty got bad news from her mom, who lived a very long way from where she lived. She was living in Florida near me. And she got news from her mom, who was living in another country. And the bad news involved her mom being recently diagnosed with cancer. And Marty and her husband, Steve, had just become parents again. And they didn't have the money to put Marty on a plane to fly home and be with her mom. So she wanted to provide her mom some comfort. So she went online. And this was early in the in the kind of Google, Amazon era. But she looked for a company that could send her mom the same thing that her mom used to give Marty when she was either not feeling good or having a bad day. And that is chicken soup. She couldn't find anybody that would make it for her. So she made it herself. She packaged it up and put a little bow on it, put some notes in it, put some other little tchotchkes in it. And it was just a lovely little care package. And she sent it off to her mom. And one way or another, it made it there. And it was a long trip. But it meant a lot to Marty to provide that for her mom. It meant the world for her mom that Marty thought to do something like that. Well, her mom was pretty damn proud, and she showed all of her friends, and her friends started asking, hey, can you do that for me? And wouldn't you know, they actually started a company out of their garage where they were doing these care packages that were really just kind of boxes full of comfort. Well, it was a spoonful of comfort. It was a box full of love. And they have grown and grown and grown. And they, as I said, they started out in a garage in Bradenton, Florida. They ended up on Shark Tank. they got turned down. It was brutal how fast they got shot down. It was hard to watch, but the exposure helped them grow even more because they really are hardworking. They're hardworking people who live their life the right way. And their business has grown and grown and grown to the point where they are now based out in Salt Lake City, Utah. And they are they're a big deal. And I'm super proud of them. As friends, I am incredibly proud of them, and I'm proud to have them in my circle of friends. They are unbelievably kind people, unbelievably generous people. But as an entrepreneur, as a business person, I'm also blown away at how much work they've put in and how much good they have driven out of their product. So, again, I appreciate that they've been advertising on the program. I've noticed it over the last couple of last week or so, a real uptick in how often I see their ads. And I'm grateful to them. And I just wanted to share their story. So if you ever need to help somebody feel good, spoonfulofcomfort.com. And I'd say tell them I sent you, but it doesn't matter. You're going to get amazing service no matter what. So thank you to my friends at Spoonful of Comfort. I also want to let you know something that I've been previewing this for a while, but it actually just got better. I've told you that I had the opportunity to meet an incredible young lady. She just turned 15, and she has scoliosis. And her mom reached out to me through the live streams, and she let me know that neither she nor her daughter felt super connected to her surgeon, who was proposing a very, very, very invasive scoliosis surgery. I don't know if you're aware, but scoliosis is when the spine curves side to side. Normally, there's a natural curvature to front to back, kind of an S-shaped curve. But when you've got that front to back curve plus side to side, that's called scoliosis. So this young lady has scoliosis, and she's been getting followed for a while. It's getting worse. And so they went to see this surgeon who was recommending a very, very, very aggressive surgery that would, I know when they recommended it to my brother, who was an adult, he was going to have to be out of work for a year. He's a dentist, so it's very physical, very, very, very positional. He would have been out of work for a solid year. So this young lady was not comfortable with it. And she talked with her mom about it. And her mom reached out to me about it. And I made some broad recommendations to her. And she followed through on them. And they ended up going to see a different surgical team. And, again, they were making a recommendation that this young lady was not great with. And guess what she did? She didn't turn to her mom and look for help. She leaned forward and owned it. And on Thursday night, I'm going to bring you this young lady, this remarkable young woman, and her mom, and we're going to talk about her experience at age 14 and now 15 of advocating and owning the moment and owning the situation going forward and finding a way not to confront, but to collaborate with her surgeon. And this was not some new doctor who, had only done a handful of cases. We're talking about the chairman of the department at a big tertiary care referral center for these kind of surgeries. And she owned it. And I'm going to bring her to you on Thursday night. But what makes it super exciting for me is that just in the while I was waiting to start this program, I got confirmation from the incredible Dr. Scott Richards from Team Maya, the psychiatrist who testified about the circumstances that led to the loss of Beata Kowalski. Scott did a phenomenal job in the trial, and I'm super excited that on Thursday night, he confirmed just within the last 15, 20 minutes that he'll be able to join us on Thursday night, and he will bring a psychiatrist's perspective to what it takes to advocate for yourself, for your loved ones, and for your friends and neighbors that need you to advocate for them. So I'm incredibly excited about this Thursday's show, 6 o'clock Eastern. Again, I know many of you will be in the replay crew, but if you can catch it live, I think Scott's going to be phenomenal. I think this young lady and her mom are going to be terrific. And I think that this will be the deepest that we will go to date. This will not be the only conversation that we have about advocating, but this will be the deepest that we will go to date, really addressing head on one of the goals that we all agreed is why we're here. And that is so that we as a community and we as individuals can become better advocates, not to become victims, but to actually own it and advocate and get us to the healthiest place possible as we navigate this labyrinth called the American healthcare system. And I know 30% of this audience is international. I do think that if you can make it through the American system, the lessons apply in the UK, Australia, South Africa, Germany. I saw Mathis is in the group, so got to mention Germany specifically there. Thanks for being here, Mathis. So there we go. And then still working on confirmation, but I believe that a week from Thursday, I will be able to introduce you to the woman who actually spent 8+ years in jail for a crime that she did not commit, but was largely convicted based on the testimony of Sally Smith, the same Sally Smith that was involved in the Maya trial. So I think that's going to be pretty cool too. I think we've got some great shows coming up, and really glad that you'll be with me for it. And I'm super excited tonight that my moderator, Jules, is going to be doing double work tonight. And Jules, you're welcome back to Talking with the Advocates. So glad you're here. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I just love being around you, Jules.
I love being around you too, Dr. Joe. You're very soothing. You're soothing. You're the voice of reason, especially when I'm freaking out.
Oh, I've never known you to freak out, Jules.
Oh no, not ever, right? I'm as cool as a cucumber, you know that.
Yeah, for sure. No question about that. No question about that. There is a possibility, by the way, Jules, that Greg Anderson is going to join us, but he had a lot going on tonight. If he joins us, then I'm just considering it bonus time. Okay.
Listen, Jules has got questions for Greg Anderson. And there is I know you've been going through the court docket and just the transcripts alone, Dr. Joe.
Oh my gosh.
On
Right.
what the plaintiff is going to be using in their appeal is over
Yeah.
2,500 pages of
Yeah.
transcripts.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Yeah. Listen, I'm blanking on who said it earlier, but Lauren Elizabeth, I think, was the name, the handle. And as soon as she logged in, before we even went live tonight, Lauren Elizabeth said, "Tell me, does JHACH get it yet?" And
They
I
don't.
think everybody here can say it with me. They just don't get it.
No.
And so, I was talking with Greg this morning, and it wasn't even close, right? Out of the 44 items on the juror form, all 44 went to support the Kowalski family. And so it wasn't like it was 51-49 or even 60-40. It was a shellacking. It was a shutout. And even with that much of the opinion going against them, I'll tell you what, Team Howard is just, they're I don't know, they're still spiking the football, trying at least.
Yeah. It's disheartening for me. I just wish that they would end this farce, because that's what it is. I mean, the jury spoke loud and clear. I think Judge Carroll made his feelings known at the end of the trial. Obviously, the public is 100% behind the family and Anderson Glenn law firm.
Except for parts of Reddit.
Yeah, they've been quiet, so let's not bring them up because they've been quiet.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But you're right. My hope is, well, here I have a hope, but I also have a gripe, and my gripe is, Judge Carroll made it really very clear in his orders that mediation was to be completed by April the 15th. And he's not going to hear the motions on sanctions until mediation is complete, because I think that Judge Carroll feels that maybe this could be resolved in mediation. So my gripe is JHACH once again doesn't do what the judge asked.
Yeah.
He's going to start mediation on the 15th of April when it's supposed to be completed.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so over them. That's my gripe. That's my gripe. But my hope is that, given that there's supposed to be a representative from the insurance company and a representative from the hospital, although, Dr. Joe, I do need you to address the representative from the hospital part. But my hope is that these people that will be in attendance for mediation will say enough is enough, and let's get this done.
Well, from your lips to God's ears, right?
Yeah.
I know that everyone in this community, Jules, wants Kyle and Maya and Jack to be able to continue the healing process and candidly to get on with their lives.
Absolutely.
I spoke with Jack a little earlier today, and honestly, I had a dad to dad talk with him, and he's done such a great job as a dad, and I learned from him, and I hope that I can reciprocate and help him with situations as well. And this family has been through so much, and what Paul and the other jurors did on that day that the verdict was read. You heard Maya say it, and I've mentioned this before. The first thing that she said when she was interviewed post verdict was, "I feel that I've been heard," and that was 6-7 years in the making. And so, it was there's a lot of their lives that got put on hold for a very long time. And so this group is unanimous. We want them to be able to move forward and continue that healing pathway. Somebody mentioned, and I'm sorry that I didn't flag it, but they said that JHACH has no motivation to settle. I agree with the sentiment, but I would finesse that. And I would say that Hillward Henderson has no reason to settle because they get paid. Those are billable hours. And, when you think about a senior partner attorney like Howard Hunter, he's not working for $50 an hour, right? He's a big dollar attorney. Ethan Shapiro is senior enough to also draw a very handsome hourly rate. And, maybe David Hughes makes a little bit less. I don't know, Pat Cruels is from a different firm, and I don't know what her billing rate would be. But you think about the small army of paralegals and executive assistants, and, that's all billable to Johns Hopkins, and Johns Hopkins has been paying that law firm for years and years and years. Yeah. So, I think that law firm may have no reason to settle, but, thanks to the order being submitted, we can all go to Recovery Addicts backup website and see exactly to the second how much interest has accrued. And I did not queue that up for this episode, Jules. I don't know if you did. Now. But I think it's 36 cents per second. It's $60 per minute. It's $52,000 per day. And last time I saw, it was north of $1.75 million of interest accrued since the middle of January when Judge Carroll submitted the order.
It's $1,971,947.84 at this very second.
Wow.
Yeah.
Read it one more time.
Well, the number's going to change now because this is an ongoing clock.
Yeah.
It's currently, let's see, what time is it? It's 6:35 p.m. on February 26th. JHACH currently owes $1,971,964.63.
Oh my word. That is a boatload of money. And that's just the interest.
Yes.
But that's the interest on $208.4 million.
Yeah.
Right?
So my question to you, though, Dr. Joe, the rep from the hospital that's going to be in mediation that's going to sit there. Do you think that that person will have the authority to sit and say, okay, we're done. We're writing a check. We're done. Or do they have to go and talk to someone else?
Well, I know that I pulled that up earlier. I know that I pulled that particular document up earlier as I was show prepping. And I can't, so if I recall correctly, Jules, the order from Judge Carroll was for there to be representation in mediation, not by not by just anybody, but by someone who has the authority and is trusted to agree to a deal. All right. And you and I talked about this a couple of days ago. For anybody who has ever bought a car, you haggle with the salesperson, pardon me, misogynist that I am. You haggle with your sales rep as best you can, and you think you've got a deal. And Jules, what do they always say when you think you're about to shake hands?
They have to go talk to their manager. Let
me talk to the manager, right? And that's exactly what Judge Carroll doesn't want to happen. In the memo that Howard Hunter submitted and is now on the Clerk of Court's docket, and I'm sorry, I did have it pulled up, but I don't see it pulled up now. Oh, here it is. Certificate, attendance, and authority. All right. So let me share my screen and I will show you this. Oh, no. Cancel. I almost canceled out of our show. That would have been a disaster. Let me share with you. Nope, that's not it. Sorry. Oh, this is what I get for freelancing.
You're fine, Dr. Joe. You are fine.
Thank you. You're too kind. Hopefully this is it. Nope. Dang it.
Okay. Hang on.
All right. So bottom line, let me just do it from memory. In the memo submitted by Mr. Hunter, he attests that everyone representing Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital, Johns Hopkins Health System, the insurance companies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, everyone who he listed and those that have been identified by Mr. Anderson, notably Jack and Maya, who are both adults. Kyle, being a minor, does not need to be there, but Jack and Maya will both be there. But everyone in the room, as certified by the attorneys,
I put it in the private chat. It's there in the private chat for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Will have the authority to make commitments. They won't have to be the car salesperson who has to go check with the manager. Now, that said, the representative for the hospital is Kathy Gleason, Kathy Griffin, Kathy G. And she's a very experienced hospital administrator. At one point, she worked for HCA. She's worked for several other healthcare companies, but she's always been in kind of the Central Florida market. I do not know her personally, but she was also the chief executive officer of the hospital called Bayfront Medical Center, which was right across the street from Johns Hopkins All Children's. So she is very, very, very familiar with Johns Hopkins All Children's. But, you know, I believe her job title, and if you can pull it up for me, I believe that she is like a VP of Governmental Affairs. And I don't know how Hopkins utilizes that kind of a role, but typically that is someone who is more involved with the legislature. They monitor any bills that are being proposed. They're evaluating the impact of laws that are passed or rules that are proposed. So you're really someone with a much keener political sense. I will tell you that at least as I worked for HCA for 10 years, and it's the largest for-profit healthcare company in the world in terms of 180 plus hospitals in, you know, the US and UK. And they are, those government, HCA, the way that they define the role, the government affairs folks are not operators. They are not operational. When the hospital president sits down with the cabinet, the chief financial officer is there, the chief operating officer is there, the chief medical officer is there, the chief nursing officer is there, the head of HR is there, et cetera, et cetera. Government affairs typically isn't around that table. So they're not typically involved in day-to-day operations. So I found it to be a very curious choice. But you know what? You know, Mr. Hunter has put his name on the line that, you know, Kathy G will have authority to negotiate and to approve any settlements that may come as a result.
But does what she say supersede what Howard Hunter wants? That's my question.
Why don't you answer that question for me, Jules?
Well, knowing Howard Hunter, the way I know Howard Hunter, I think he's going to bulk. I mean, if they want to come to a fair, mind you, I'm saying a fair and reasonable offer, I just don't see Howard Hunter rolling over. I don't see him rolling over. I'm hoping that between the insurance company and between the hospital, that they're going to clap back and say, listen, you did your job. Your job's over now. Now we're handling this. But again, I only want to see a settlement if it's a fair and reasonable one.
Yeah.
Because they deserve it. The family deserves it.
We are in complete agreement there. No question. No question.
Yes.
Hey, Jules.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Please go by all means.
No, do it.
And just wanted to point out that Yoli, Hippo Lover, is in the house. I saw a message saying hello to Paul as well. So happy to have them here.
Hi, Paul. Hi, Yoli. One of these days, we have to sit down and have a chat.
And I want to say thanks to AKA the Cat Lady for gifting memberships. I can't tell you how much joy those gifted memberships bring to members of this community. So thank you for your generosity. And Matt Bond, you're always here, and I love that I have qualified for the same verbal hug that you give my dear friend Rob over at Law and Lumber. Good day, spiffy medical legal mumbo jumbo talky dude. Matt, I'm here, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Glad you're part of the community. So Jules, let's take a look at a couple of things And again, I know that I have it all written out, but I know that I'm going to mess it up because I just tried to do something that didn't work the way I thought it would. But I want to show the audience first. This is Sarasota County Clerk of Court's website called ClerkNet. And this is case number 2018 CA 005321 NC. That is the case heard by Hunter Carroll, and it was the Kowalskis v. Johns Hopkins All Children's. Okay, so these are the events that have taken place in the trial, and this goes back to January 22 of 2019, starting with motions, all the way through.
They had 51 summary judgments before this even came to trial.
Right? And this record goes through January 3rd of 2024, which was the day that Paul was interviewed by Judge Carroll in his North Sarasota courtroom. And then as you scroll down further, now this is listed most recent to least recent, but here are docket submissions as recently as a couple of days ago, February 23rd, 2024. So for anybody, goodness, what did I just do? For anybody who has not been on the website, I want you to see just how many entries there have been of records into the Clerk of Court's docket.
Over 4,000.
As we're scrolling down, Jules, everything that we're looking at on the screen so far has been submitted since the first of the year.
Exactly.
Okay? This is for a trial that ended in November, right? This is just since the first of the year. Keeps going and going. This is the Energizer Bunny, right? Look at all of this. So everything from here, I don't know if you can you see my cursor? Everything from here, notice of filing trial, January 2, 2024. Everything north of that I just scrolled past is new since the first of the year. And let me just remind you, in every city, in every country where anybody is logged in and watching this live stream, it is only the second month of the year, right? And this just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on, okay? But where I want to focus, Jules, is on just what's been submitted in the last couple of days, last couple of weeks. So, but I wanted to start there so that I could give the advocates a glimpse of everything that we've been, everything that's in the record. And again, if you'll remember, we've had this conversation. You just mentioned that there's over 4,000 elements to the docket, 51
summary judgments.
This is a trial that even before Paul and the other jurors and the 6 alternates were seated, had already been to the Second District Court of Appeals, right?
Correct.
They had already had an appeal prior to initiating the trial itself, right? So this has been an enormous fight. And again, it's one of the things that you've got to respect about not only the tenacity and fight by Greg Anderson, his wife Jennifer Anderson, Nick Whitney, Samantha Lawrence, all the paralegals, all the support staff that have committed so much time to this.
Jennifer's sisters.
Jennifer's
her
sisters for sure.
sisters. Yes.
Yeah, but also again, it goes to the perseverance of the Kowalski family,
Yes.
right? At
Yes.
some point, Jules, I know that you've talked with Jack and with Maya and with Kyle on multiple occasions. Come on, realistically, there had to have been times in the last 5-6 years where they just wanted to say, F it, I'm done, right? I'm out.
Well, yes. This is the one thing without revealing. I don't want to reveal my personal conversations
Sure.
with him too much, but I know that find me saying roadblock. Jack sat down with both of his children. Kyle and Maya have always been in this entire process. He's never made a decision without sitting down and to the kids. And my hat's off to Jack because it's a family. This is a family process. This is not a Jack process. It's not even just a Maya process. This was a family collectively. And so if the kids and didn't want to go forward, Jack would have been the first one to say, okay, enough is enough.
Yeah.
But because, they do everything as a family, then forward. And, my hat's off to the Kowalski family, but more importantly, Anderson Glenn Law. No one else wanted to touch this family.
Yeah.
The Kowalski family would not be where they are today had it not been for Greg Anderson, Jennifer Anderson, the entire law firm.
For sure. For
So,
sure. Yeah. Totally agree. So let's I pulled up a couple of the more recent docket what do you call them? Docket files that have been registered.
They're just documents. Yeah.
Okay. Documents. So first,
the email chain.
No. I want to go there kind of towards the end of it, but
okay.
Maybe this one. Nope. Dang it. I had this all lined up.
It's okay.
And I didn't realize that once you click on it, then it shuffles the deck and puts it in a different order. But maybe it's this one. So as of February 16th, the 2nd District Court of Appeals, based here in Tampa, has acknowledged that that they have received the notice, acknowledgement of a new case, Johns Hopkins versus Maya Kowalski et al. So they have received the appeal reflecting the filing date of February the 15th. Okay, so the appeal has been filed. It's on. That's it's in motion, right? So the next thing that I want to share with you is, good Lord. The civil supersedious bond. Okay. And Jules, I hope you can see this.
I can.
So,
I've got it pulled up on my end too.
So this is the submission from the parties, Maya, Kowalski, JHACH, representing Beata, Johns Hopkins, defendant. We, Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital, Incorporated, as principal, and Travelers Casualty and Surety Company of America as surety, are held firmly bound unto Maya Kowalski, JHACH Kowalski individually, and JHACH Kowalski personal representative in the principal sum of $75 million, for the payment of which we bind ourselves, our heirs, personal representatives, successors, and assigns jointly and severally. Condition of the obligation is the above named principal has entered into an appeal with the second DCA. So this is the bond. These 6 pages, signed by a senior VP and chief financial officer of Johns Hopkins Health System Corporation in Baltimore, as authorized by an agent of Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital in Florida, and also co-signed by the attorney in fact for Travelers Casualty and Surety. This is their proof that they have set aside $75 million of a bond. So they have met their burden. There is, this money is out there. It's real. So, you know, if they're committed. And again, to the point that someone raised in the chat about they're not motivated to see it go away. This costs them money to buy. This is not something that you get just by showing them that you've got money in your checkbook. Typically, a bond costs about 10% of the value of the bond. So this bond for $75 million, 10% of that is $7.5 million. And if you go to a bail bondsman to you know, get somebody out of jail, a $1,000 bond will cost you $100. So this bond might not have cost $7.5 million because of the relationship, but it wasn't free. So they have, in fact, already put some money out there, in addition to the interest that is accumulating every second of every minute of every hour of every day, from now until the big check gets stroked. And, you know, you already pointed out to us, it's $1.9 million and climbing every second.
By the way, Dr. Joe, Scott, recovery addict, has now rated our chat, just so you know. And the new total, courtesy of Scott from Recovery Addict on his top marked media, it's $1,902.43. Interesting.
You know, welcome, Scott. The recovery addict himself is in the house. Scott, I already told you personally in our conversation that I think that you and your son, who built this interest counter, sheer genius move. So it is fun to watch, and thank you for making it up to date and something that we can continue to watch from time to time. It is an astounding amount of money, and it is a staggering clock to watch. It reminds me of the national debt clock. I'm sure that I suspect that was your inspiration. And, you know, honestly, other than the location of the decimal point and the comma, they're probably ticking off just about as fast. So, Scott, great job by you and your son. Well done.
His second oldest son.
Second oldest. Okay.
I do believe, if I'm wrong, I'm sure Scott will correct me in the chat, but if I remember correctly, Scott said it was his second oldest son that did this.
See, Jules, you always have more information than me. You always have the scoop. You just love your tea, darling. That's all. So let's see what else we have in the queue.
Mm.
Here it is. This is the certificate of attendance and authority. So again, this was filed, it's over Howard Hunter's electronic signature. And this was certificate of attendance and authority, defendant Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital, Inc. In advance of the mediation currently scheduled for April 15th and if necessary, April 17th, 2024, the following persons will appear. So they will have Deborah Perez, Chief Counsel and Practice Group Leader, Claims and Litigation for Johns Hopkins Health System. Seems
Is
like
that
a
the
pretty...
hospital rep?
That is the health system rep in Baltimore.
Okay.
Amy Wallenius, Senior Director of Claims, MCIC Vermont. That is an insurance group that only has clients which are big academic medical centers. So MCIC is a risk retention group. So MCIC, when all of this is over, assuming that nothing unexpected happens, MCIC will be one of the entities that will be contributing to the money that will be turned over to Team Maya. Susan Blundy, Vice President of Claims, MCIC Vermont, LLC. Again, same organization. And again, they only support large academic medical centers. Catherine Gillette, the VP of Government and Community Affairs for All Children's Hospital, will also attend. This is the key line right here. Each will have full authority to settle without further consultation. Now, you know, Jules, I know you're skeptical, particularly about Catherine Gillette's ability to have that authority. But again, Howard Hunter he's made the blood oath that they've got that authority. So, gotta believe.
I know. The reason why I have such a hard time, and I'm jumping ahead, but I'm not going to go into it because I know you want to save it for towards the end. But the reason I want a settlement to happen during mediation in the worst possible way, so JHACH, Maya, and Kyle could move on with their lives and go about their business and not be under public scrutiny any longer and all that jazz. But hesitant, even though I'm hoping that the insurance company and the rep from the hospital is going to put their foot down, the reason why I'm apprehensive is because and you're going to talk about it towards the end, but that email chain.
Yep. And you know what?
So, you know, it's like you said, Howard Hunter is going to dig his feet in. And how much power
be nice.
Does the
Come
attorney,
on, be nice.
How much power? This is why we need Greg. Greg, hurry up and finish doing what you're doing. How much power does the attorney have over what the hospital wants or over what wants? That's my question for Mr. Anderson. How much power does Howard Hunter, Ethan Shapiro and company have over what the hospital and the insurance? Like, if the hospital and insurance company say, listen, we've had enough. We want this to go away. So let's put something on the table that is reasonable and fair. How much power does the attorneys have over those two folks? That's my question. And I think the only person that's going to be able to answer that is Greg Anderson or Nick Wade.
Well, and actually all they can really do is speculate from a more a more sophisticated foothold than you and I can. But I think that Nancy D asks a brilliant question here, and it really tees it up for the next part of the conversation. Who will, Nancy, thank you for your super chat. Who will decide who pays the lawyers for Maya? So if I can work my magic and find the right PDF here. I think this is it. Yes. Okay. So this document was filed by Greg and Jen and Nick and Samantha and the team at Anderson Glenn. And this was filed on February 16th. And it is called the Plaintiff's Motion to Tax Attorney Fees and Costs. So the bottom line is that this is the document that Greg and company have submitted, and it is a motion that makes Nancy D, that makes the Johns Hopkins team responsible for offsetting some, not all, some of Team Maya's attorney fees and costs. And interestingly, if you go all the way down to the end, they itemize
Everything. I love it.
It's all here.
I love it.
It is all here. And honestly, I actually just misspoke, because I guarantee you, this is not all that there is. But this
No.
is a substantial amount of the billing for a fixed period of time that does not represent all of the time that Anderson Glenn has been involved in this case. But here's page 5, page 6.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It is nuts. And some of these are big numbers, 20 grand. Some of these are small numbers, $7, $8, $9, right? It is fees and costs. But look at how long this goes on, right?
Yeah.
So again, this is a 20 some page document, but let me read through a couple of, this is where I think when I read this over the weekend, I'm like, ooh,
I told you were going to get a headache. Did you get a headache? Because I said you were going to get a headache.
I got kind of hungry. It was like spicy, you know?
Yeah.
There was some interesting stuff in here. So I want to start with, so all of this, the kind of the beginning of it, the preamble, is talking about how plaintiff's counsel first contacted on February 17th, 2017. So plaintiff's counsel, Greg Anderson, was contacted about the case just 33 days after Maya's discharge from the hospital. Okay, so that was about 40 days after Beata left us. Okay. Mm-hmm. And they were formally retained a month later on March 18th. Following several extensions, blah, blah, blah. The complaint was amended several times, blah, blah, blah. Paragraph 4. Ultimately, the case went to trial on the plaintiff's 8th amended complaint and demand for jury trial on January 24th, 2023. Filed on January 23. So what that means is that the reason why there were so many amended complaints, some were caused by Greg and his team changing their approach. Some were caused by the defense team going before a judge and saying, no, they can't, this is not a legitimate point. So if they won that, then Team Maya would have to change their complaint. Okay. Ahead of the trial, this was the first spicy part, because this is the first time I've ever seen this acknowledged out loud. Okay. So on January 24th, 2023, approximately 8 months before the trial began, Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital made a nominal settlement offer totaling $1.6 million amongst all of the plaintiffs, Jack Kowalski individually, Jack Kowalski as parent of Maya, and Jack Kowalski as personal representative of the estate of Beata Kowalski. Okay, so, there have been lots of times where people have asked, why didn't the hospital offer to settle this? After 5 years of litigation, they made this offer of $1.6 million to make it all go away. And, let's face it, I just showed you, 6, 7, 8 pages of fees and expenses. And that does not, when I looked through it, Jules, I may be wrong, but when I looked through it, I did not see any bills for Greg's time, for Nick's time, for Samantha's time, for Jen's time, for Jen's sister's times, right?
There were no billable hours. No billable hours was in there.
Right. So they made an offer of $1.6 million, which basically would have patted the Kowalskis on the head and not even paid for their legal team's work to date, their expenses to date. Okay.
And least not us forget, in July, I believe it was July 26th or July 28th of 2023. They
get there.
did. Okay.
We'll get there. It's
Okay.
in here.
All right.
All right. Paragraph 5. The jury trial began September 11th, 2023. How apropos. And continued for 9 weeks through November 9th. At the conclusion of the trial, the jury found in favor of the plaintiffs against defendants on all counts. 44-0, folks. Awarding over $200 million in compensatory damages and $50 million in punitive damages. Okay. Paragraph 6. Filed for remitter. It was reduced. Paragraph 7. In final judgment, the court reserved jurisdiction to award attorney's fees and costs or both. Paragraph 8. Plaintiffs now request that the Judge Carroll starts to consider these payments. And the reason why they brought this forward was so that this could be a point that could be worked through during the mediation. Okay, and it goes on to say that in the next couple of paragraphs. I want to scroll down to number 11. This might be the hottest Dorito in the bag.
It is.
The defendant constructed a multiple-year scheme to cover up the hospital's systematic and cultural failures in an attempt to mislead the jury and the court that the hospital continuously met federal regulatory and accreditation requirements. This is what I got to talk about. This is what Witness Anderson referenced. They said everything was fine. In the pre-trial arguments, and before I was involved, my understanding is that the hospital went before the judges because Judge Carroll was not the first, but the hospital's attorneys went before the judges and successfully convinced them that the risk management and safety failings as early as March 14th of 2020, they were arguing that these were limited to the Heart Institute. That, my friends, is what Howard Hunter felt was burying the Dracula years ago. Okay?
Absolutely.
All right, so I'm going to admit this out loud in front of everybody here, okay? I had to look this word up. Defendant engaged in contumacious conduct. All right, so I looked it up, and basically it means purposely. Oh, God, I wrote it down. Look it up for me, Jules. Basically, it means that you purposely were a pain in the neck, right? But defendant engaged in contumacious conduct, leading the court to believe that these issues were simply media fodder and confined to pediatric heart surgery. going so far as to withhold the CMS findings and accreditation reviews from their own expert, witness Anderson. Defendant's bad faith conduct was discovered and outed during the trial, but such conduct should not go unpunished and must be discouraged in the strongest manner possible.
Well, it means stubbornly, disobedient, or
That's it.
rebellious.
That's it.
There you go.
Whew.
Perverse.
That right there, that's a private high school vocabulary word. That they didn't teach us that in public school. So that's impressive. Contumacious. I will have to find a way to work that into my vocabulary sometime in the next couple of weeks.
I know
okay.
a few people I could use that term on. Yeah. In my personal life, sure.
And then paragraph 12 is interesting because this is where they talk about defendant's bad faith conduct did not stop with the verdict, however. Defendant engaged in a rabid and unhinged attempt to destroy our friend Paul, aka juror number 1, employing an army of faceless and nameless Reddit users to investigate him and his immediate family. In doing so, the defendant alleged that the juror employed neo-Nazi symbolism, repeatedly made false statements, pointedly, and this I think is really this one hits bullseye. Pointedly, the defense counsel stated as fact that Deborah Salisbury, former counsel to the plaintiffs in the dependency proceeding, had represented the juror's current wife in her divorce proceeding. Defendant made that claim with reckless disregard for the truth and in a bad faith attempt to influence the court's view of the verdict and the alleged prejudice of the jury. The defendant has never corrected its false statement. Defendant's actions have brought discredit on Florida's judicial system and on the Florida bar. And I will tell you, the only document that I've seen, Jules, that is as spicy as what is contained in these last couple paragraphs, but particularly paragraph 12, was Deborah Salisbury's affidavit that she filed prior to the jury, the interview of our friend Paul, also known as juror number 1, where she said, I have been an officer of the court for 30 years. And you know, I mean, she shared her personal contempt for this blatant attack. So I was really happy when I read that Greg's team addressed this head on.
Yes, she did it. It was a slam dunk as far as I'm concerned. She called them out. She called them for what they really are, but she did it with dignity and grace.
I 100% agree. 100% agree. So the last thing that I want to pull out of here, Jules, because this motion we'll get to that. We'll get to what's happened to it since, but this was just filed a week ago, right? But in the costs and attorney's fees for rejected proposals for settlement, plaintiffs served proposals for settlement on the defendant. Okay, so this is Greg with JHAC's support proposing to settle the case in part. Keep in mind, remember that this is a multi-party, right? There was Jack Kowalski individually. There was Jack Kowalski representing the kids. There was Jack Kowalski representing the estate of his deceased wife, right? So this is just an offer to take Jack out as a plaintiff, okay?
Yeah.
February 18th, 2022, Johns Hopkins team turned down an offer to settle with JHACH himself as an individual party for $2.5 million. They updated that offer a year and a half later, July 28th. Again, just JHACH individually, not to make the whole thing go away, but they offered to settle out JHACH's individual part in the trial for $5 million. And then on the same day, July 28th, 2023, they offered to take out JHACH and JHACH as the personal representative for the state of Beata to Johns Hopkins for $10 million. So for a total of $15 million, this would have come down to really just Maya Kowalski v. Johns Hopkins. $15 million. And this was a month and a half before jury selection began.
And may I say something in reference to everything
do.
that you just said?
Please do.
People do not understand why Ethan Shapiro went after me the way that he did. And I said this the last time I was with you on your show, Dr. Joe, and I'm just going to reiterate it one more time for everybody, for all the new people out there. He did an interview in front of the courthouse during lunch one day, and he was specifically asked, has the hospital ever made an offer to the family? And I was standing there, and he outright lied. He said, no, we never have. We never will. We wanted to take this to court because mandatory reporting is at stake, not just here in the state of Florida, but across the country.
Yeah.
That was a lie. And I went on my TikTok and I pulled those DINs, those documents, and I put them on my TikTok and I called him out. And 2 days later, well, y'all know what happened. So
why don't you remind us what happened for anybody on the live stream that wasn't part of our earlier conversation?
Well, unfortunately, I was dragged into their post-trial motions.
The notorious Jules.
Yeah, the notorious Jules, who's a social media influencer. I mean, like, for real.
The agent for the Kowalskis.
I was the agent de facto. I mean, this is not verbatim, but in that motion, he basically accused me of JHACH speaking to me going to Hippo Lover going to who I thought was juror number 7. He was really juror number 1, and that the 4 of us were colluding together. I mean, it was the most ridiculous thing ever. But you know, there was also an outburst that took place inside the courtroom. Everybody thinks it was out in the hall, but it was not. I was talking with Dr. Richards inside the courtroom, and this was in between the verdict and the penalty phase. And he came in and he rubbed, I don't want to say rub is the wrong word. He brushed my shoulder as he walked behind me and said, and so it's coming to a quick close now. So what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to live my life. And he turned and he whipped. I thought he was going to get whiplash. He whipped his head around and he said, yeah, get a life. I was stunned. And so the only comeback I had for him was, yeah. And are you still going on your cruise? And he whipped around again. He goes, yes, I am. You know, I had two run-ins with him since I had outed him on these settlements. Yeah. But prior to that, he was very nice to me. He didn't know who I was at the time, but he was very nice to me.
None of us did know who you were. I mean, I didn't
No.
know who you were that first day,
Miss
but
Krause was very nice to me.
yeah.
But once I did that, I got dragged into something, and it was all a lie. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
everyone knows it was all a lie. Thank you, Reddit.
Yeah. So the notorious Jules got called out and told to get a life.
Yeah.
So it like I said, there were some definitely spicy moments about this, but well, at least he pretty much assured that you will be a part of the book that James D. Felice is working on, which if history repeats, will probably end up being a movie. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Well, there was one small truth to what he said. I met you, Dr. Joe, and we became friends. I became friends with quite a few of the players. Not in the beginning. It was 9 weeks is a long time when you're sitting in a courtroom every day and you're spending, time with witnesses and, when the family's there, and you can't help but out in the hall speak to the family because they're just lovely. So the small truth of the matter is, yeah, I have become familiar with JHACH, Maya, and Kyle. I consider them friends. Do I speak to them every day? No, but we touch base with each other, occasionally. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that, because I did not know who JHACH, Maya, and Kyle were. Did you know who they were?
I had never met them until after I testified. I had certainly read a lot about them in the material that I prepared my testimony on. So, hey, by the way, let's take a quick break. Who's in your lap? Introduce us to your buddy.
This is Frankie, everybody. Say hello, Frankie. He's a menace.
Now, Frankie's not going to do that.
No, he's a menace. He does not listen. He's very, very bad.
One day we'll get Frankie and Charlie hanging out. They'll start dishing.
Yeah, really. I don't know. If your dog is a well-behaved dog, you don't want Frankie around yours. He's a bad influence on everybody.
Charlie thinks he's a big dog. That's the scary part, So Jules, I just want to share one more document with the advocates. Okay. And I know this is your favorite one. So
yes, it is.
Yeah. So this is an email thread that starts on February 22nd. So this is about 5-6 calendar days after Anderson Glenn submitted the motion for taxing legal bills, which is a formal way of saying making the defendants responsible for paying legal fees. And so this is from Connie, who is she was the redheaded paralegal that sat behind Nick and Maya and Greg. They were at the front table. Connie was there, I believe, every day of the 9-week trial, sitting behind them. And she did an incredible amount of work, and she did it extremely well. But she was the legal assistant who helped, or paralegal, who helped really kind of make sure that the trains ran on time and make sure that documents were where they needed to be. She did incredible. So anyway, she writes this email to Sarah Shebeck. She's Judge Carroll's judicial assistant, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So this says, hey, by the way, Your Honor, we filed this motion. We're trying to get time on your calendar, but you don't have much time before mediation, which is set for April 15th and 17th, and basically saying, hey, can we get this done? And again, the point of filing the motion and having it decided prior to mediation is so that while they've got all these interested parties with the authority to actually agree to a mediated outcome, that the concept of legal fees could be wrapped up in all of the different elements that are part of the mediation. Jules, maybe why don't you channel Howard Hunter and read this out to the crowd? So this is the response the same day. Let me see. This was
don't have that kind of arrogance.
This was so Connie sent this email on February 22nd at 12:13 p.m. 4 hours and 17 minutes later, Howard Hunter at hillwardhendersonlaw.com responds, copies everybody, and it's now part of the public record, and says, "Good afternoon, Ms. Shebeck. We oppose the request for hearing prior to mediation. Defendant opposes entitlement and needs adequate time to draft and file a response in opposition to the plaintiff's motion, which was filed only 4 business days ago. But as I said, it was about six calendar days. And listen, I know that those offices have not been empty on Saturdays and Sundays, but I digress.
No.
Defendant opposes it, and we need time to respond. But we're against it, is what he's saying. In addition,
but let's not forget what they did to Anderson Glenn on Thanksgiving weekend. Let's not forget what they did to Anderson Glenn for that Jewish holiday as well. Okay. And only gave them a weekend to be able to prepare. Howard Hunter, you're such a crybaby. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Dr. Joe. I'm so sorry.
In addition, plaintiff's motion seeks entitlement to fees based on the judgment that is being challenged on appeal. If the appellate court reverses that judgment, my note here, the judgment that was 44-0, if the appellate court reverses the whole damn thing, plaintiff would not be entitled to any fees. If the judgment is affirmed, plaintiff is likely to seek additional fees for the appeal, necessitating further hearing. The defendant is well aware of the fee exposure. Hunter knows that they're on the hook for fees. Any significant impact on mediation is his emphasis, highly unlikely. That's your favorite line, isn't it, Jules?
Mm-hmm. This is the arrogance of this man. And that's
Jules,
why
be nice.
That's why I want to know. The arrogance, it just blows my mind. I mean, he just came straight out and said, mediation is a waste of time because we're not going to put any offer out there. That's what he said. That's exactly what the man said. And that's why we need a lawyer to address who's got the final say so, Howard Hunter or the rep from the hospital and the insurance company. That's my question. Does the hospital and the insurance company have the authority to knock Howard Hunter out of his shoes and just say, Mr. Hunter, sit down. This is no longer your show.
See, Jules, this is why I wanted you on the live stream tonight.
I'm sorry.
This is the notorious Jules off the leash.
it just annoys me because I sat there every single day for 9 weeks. I saw the shenanigans that the jury never saw. I mean, the stuff that went out, that went on out in the hallway, just very unethical practices. It's lawyers like this.
Unprofessional, at least. Yeah.
Yes, it's lawyers like this that give other lawyers a bad name.
Although I will tell you, I would hope that I would get that kind of vigorous defense if I ever needed it.
Okay.
Rob put it best. Rob at Law and Lumber. He's addressed this a couple of different times. And he talks about lawyers who are willing to go right up to the edge of the line. And Rob has expressed his dis-ease with taking that approach and being around people who take that approach. He's been quite articulate about it. And again, not being a lawyer, honestly, I don't know what the rules are as well as Rob does.
Well, I've sat in enough of trials, albeit, this was my first civil trial that I ever sat in on, but I've seen lawyers do some low blow stuff, but I have never seen antics like I saw during this trial. It wasn't just the attorneys, but even their group that sat behind them. Let's not forget jazz hands, when it came to when they wanted to get rid of juror
Paul.
Yeah, Paul. I'm sorry, Paul. He's gonna forever be juror number 1 to me. In any case, and when Mr. Anderson said, "Yeah, well, okay, we'll probably go with the next one," and they're like, and the other one's fist pumping. You just don't behave like that in court. You just don't do it. Just like when I believe it was Howard Hunter who intimated that it was Samantha Lawrence's husband, who is a former years ago employee of JHACH, turn that damning tape off. I mean, things like that. No, they crossed the line. They crossed a line.
Yeah, like asking me if I read the deposition that they never took. Really? I mean, at least I knew quickly early in the process what I was up against, right? So, hey, I have been reminded by our dear friend, Dr. Scott Richards, who has been quoted on multiple occasions by Mr. Greg Anderson about the 2 standard deviation rule. And the 2 standard deviation rule, Scott had to remind me what it was. Expect the worst that you can expect, and then go 2 standard deviations below what you can expect. And that will be where Howard and people like Howard will take you, right? And people do things. This is Scott's explanation. People will do things 2 standard deviations below what you can imagine, because they can imagine a lot worse than you can imagine. I think that is absolutely brilliant.
I think it's scary, actually.
It's scary, but it you know what, Jules, what Dr. Richards is pointing out is that, I think that one of the things that I love about this community is that we collectively are here because we're trying to build something better, that we are trying to learn to be better and to share that and to make that the model. But I think what Scott's pointing out is not everybody thinks the way we do, right? You
Mhm.
see the soft white underbelly too often. And especially now where it seems like, people are punching each other for, crazy reasons, right? So, yeah. Did anybody see the comment that
Yeah.
Paul just put into the chat? So this
I
is a quote from Paul. He calls himself Juror One in his avatar. Y'all can call me anything you want, just don't call me late for dinner.
I
Paul,
know when you
I just don't want
interviewed.
to hear what Yoli calls you when you forget your anniversary and you have to look for your tattoo. Thank God you got the year right, dude.
Yeah, really. Really. I know that you wanted Paul. That's so hard for me to say. Paul, to be recognized as Paul and not juror number one. But well, first off, Paul, you were juror number 7 to me up until the day they tried to boot you off the jury. And I found out, oh, he's not juror number 7, he's juror number 1. And it's permanently engraved in my brain. And I hope that, maybe Dr. Joe will arrange a meeting for all of us to get together, and maybe once I actually meet you in person, like not watch you on a jury for 9 weeks, but actually sit down and break bread with you, you'll become
or cinnamon rolls. We could break cinnamon rolls together, right?
That's cinnamon rolls.
Anybody know where we can get good ones?
I do. They're very fattening too, folks. Just
No, they're not. No. My beautiful and talented wife takes all the calories out before she serves them.
They're so good.
Trust
So
me,
good.
I'm a doctor. Trust me. Hey, listen, I do just want to, I do want to thank our mod, Gothic Brina, who reminds us, take care of yourself so that you can help take care of others. We're advocates. That's who we are.
Amen.
I love it. I love it. And Bug Dogger, congratulations on being a member for 2 months. Yes, we all do love some good tea. And I got to tell you, these motions have been full of good tea, haven't they? Jules, I'm gonna start winding down. But I got to tell you, it seems like, as of the 9th of November, when the jury completed its work and delivered this curb stomping 44-0 verdict.
Yeah.
This shocking $261 million verdict, because that's what they delivered. It was ultimately rolled back to a modest $208.4 million. And drum roll, please, how much interest has been added to that amount?
You ready?
I am ready.
$1,972. I mean, wait a minute. Wait. All these commas. $1,972,117.01.
Oh my God. So you said 1,972,000?
Yeah, 1,972,124 and now 20 cents. Yeah.
So if my brain is working, guess what's going to happen in the next 24 hours?
We're going to roll over to 2 million. Yeah.
Thank you, Scott and Scott's second eldest son, for tracking that. We will be over $2 million in interest by this time tomorrow, folks. Whew.
If that's not enough of incentive to settle, I don't know what is.
I'll tell you what, it would scare the bejeebers out of me.
Me too.
I would settle on anything if I was racking up 52 grand a day in interest.
Yeah. And for those of you that, go over to Top Mark Media and see the clock ticking for yourself, because the thumbnail for it is priceless. It's Greg, Jack, and Maya, and it's a picture of them. And the angle that the picture is taken, it looks like they are watching the clock. So you really should go over to Top Mark Media and check it out and give it a like. And it's constantly running live. You can even chat in the comments,
And
Scott
again,
would love
it's
it.
a YouTube channel
Yes.
that is part of Recovery Addicts empire, and it's called one word, Top Mark Media, correct?
Correct. I'm posting the link.
Outstanding.
There's the link, folks. There's the link.
I'll tell
Go
you
check
what.
it out.
Scott delivers some terrific content, but this is a special category. I mean, but we will be seeing that roll over to $2 million sometime by this time tomorrow. Yeah, that would motivate me. And Jules, I think that, you said it earlier. I think we should all just kind of, throw up some collective prayer, collective positive energy that that $52,000 a day is at least enough to nudge the grown-ups in the room toward trying to get something out of mediation. I agree with you. I have had several folks who are in the legal profession look at that email response by Howard Hunter, and they came to the same conclusion that you did. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't really I don't have the sophistication to understand the nuance, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they all looked at it and said variations of the same thing. Oh, this guy doesn't expect mediation to be of any value. This is his expression that mediation is going to be a waste of time. And on one level, I understand it, but that sure as heck does not seem like what Judge Carroll intended or wants. And I think that the judge did such a terrific job of teeing it up so that it would be a meaningful experience. And I'm disappointed. I mean, listen, I'm Pollyanna. I am the ultimate glass half full guy.
You are. You are.
And I remain hopeful that the adults in the room take ownership of it. They advocate for doing the right thing, because the right thing would mean that this family gets to move on past 7 years of trauma, right?
Yes.
And
that's
listen,
what people forget, Dr. Joe. This has been 7 years. Well, now we're into 8 years.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's, just because everything ended on November the 9th doesn't mean that this family is still not being traumatized, because they are.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that I will tell you, not the scariest thing, but the saddest thing that I've heard was when Kurt was on the show a couple of months ago, when you were on the first time, and he said this could go on 5 more years.
Unfortunately, that's true.
I will tell you, I really hope that this just goes on a couple more weeks. But, I will tell you, I am committed personally to doing what I can as a neighbor who lives in a nearby community to the Kowalski family. I am committed personally to helping them move on and heal. And I know you're doing the same. I know. You've been a very good friend to them. And you know what? There's a lot of people like you, Jules. You're the only one who became notorious. But I know that Cake Lady Alicia is committed to doing the same thing.
Yes.
Right? There
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
you know, I just want it over for them, and I want Jack, Maya, and Kyle to be taken out of the headlines.
Yeah.
Specifically a specific group that I'm not going to name.
Who have been on good behavior.
They have
recently.
been on good behavior, but you don't bully an 18-year-old,
No.
and that's basically what these people were doing. I just
Yeah.
want them to move forward. Maya's got college coming up.
First, she's got high school graduation coming up,
Well,
right?
that's
And that's a
true.
big deal.
Yeah.
That is a big deal. You know what's funny? I don't even remember my high school graduation because I had a college graduation and a medical school graduation and a residency program graduation and when I went back for my business degree, I've had 4 graduations since.
Did you
then.
celebrate
So high school
all of them?
graduation didn't mean that. What's that?
Did you celebrate each one of those?
Well, heck yeah.
Okay.
But it wasn't until I went through high school graduation with my daughter
Mhm.
and then my son that I was able to refocus on what a big deal high school graduation is at that time in your life, right?
It is a big
And
deal.
so she's looking at a high school graduation soon, and she's at or near the top of her class. So it's a really big deal. And then you're right. Then she moves on to college. Kyle, who has been mostly homeschooled, has an opportunity to go back and mainstream, right? So there's a lot of kind of normal life ahead of these kids,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. My advice to Maya was go do you. And go do you. And it doesn't matter how many
Yeah.
different things you have to try. You
Yeah.
try different things until you find your niche. And she's going to find her niche as well as Kyle. And they've got a great supportive dad. And that's
Amazing. You know what? I know you agree with me, but you've heard me, you personally have heard me describe them as a great American family.
Absolutely.
An immigrant mom who grew up in a communist country, whose dad was taken away by the secret police for a month. Because why? Because he wanted better for his family, right? That's it. The crime of wanting better for your family. And the police took him away for a month.
Yeah.
Right?
And that traumatized Beata to where, she felt she couldn't trust anybody. She had to make sure she took incredible notes. She documented everything. She was going to make sure nobody got over, on her or her children. It's a shame because this is a woman. She's not here, and I would have loved to have been able to meet her and sit down and have a conversation with her. And unfortunately, because of these events, she's not here. But Jack has stepped up. He's been mom and dad.
I agree with you that none of us who never knew Beata will ever get to meet her. But I swear to you that you can get a glimpse of what it's like by having a conversation with Maya.
That's true. That's very true.
She's strong, she's poised, she's tenacious, and even her dad agrees. She got that from her mama.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
If you talk to Jack, he's the first one to say that. He definitely, great family. And, if anyone out there ever has the opportunity to meet them, any of our Florida crew that's in the chat, if you run into them at the mall or wherever, don't ever be afraid to, not approach and say hello, because they are generous with their time like that. Very, very generous with their time.
Jack told me a story, and I'm sure he's told you the same one, that He was visiting family up in Minnesota, and there was a tap on his shoulder, and he turned around and he thought he was in trouble because
Yes.
this was a big, intimidating looking biker dude,
Yeah.
right?
Tattooed everywhere.
With the sleeveless denim, club jacket and the tattoos and the spiked bracelets and the beard and the tough guy look. And he goes, "You Jack." And Jack said he actually kind of had to think twice before he said yes.
I know. And then
But
he's
here
like,
was a
"Maya, he
biker."
knows who I am.
But here was this big, tough biker dude who watched the documentary, watched the trial, and fell in love with the family. But if you meet them, I honestly think the best opportunity for mediation to be meaningful would be for those representatives from Hopkins and from the risk retention group and the insurance company to spend 30 minutes with Jack and Kyle and Maya.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with you. They should put Howard Hunter and Ethan Shapiro in a corner. And these reps need to sit down with Jack, Maya, and Kyle, and they're going to come away with a whole different feeling than whatever Hunter was portraying to this hospital, because it's just not true.
Yeah. So, all right. So we've agreed that we're just like Frankie, we are all in love with the Kowalski family. So I think that much has been established tonight. But Jules, thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you for, it's so hard to get an opinion out of you sometimes, but I'm glad you were able to break through that mold, that quiet introvert side of you, and tell us how you feel about it on more than one occasion tonight. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. And thanks for bringing Frankie into our world too. Before I wrap everything up, I do want to share that I have I've been around a number of years, and I don't feel like I look old. I don't feel like I feel old. I went for a nice long competitive bike ride this afternoon. I've got some racing bikes out in the garage that I don't use enough, but I enjoy my time out, being physically active and what have you. But I do want to share that as many in the of the advocates know, this year's been off to a really tough start, and I've lost some friends and I've lost some family. And so I want to share, I love my wife dearly, but this was my Valentine's gift. From Patty. Okay. Yeah. And I get it, because a lot of times when a loved one is lost, you have to figure out their passwords to everything. You've got to figure out where everything is. And this is actually a really cool gift. I got to be honest with you. It didn't sit with me terribly well until I opened it up and started reading it. And I know she's watching, so I could be in deep, deep trouble for talking about this. But it's actually, I'm actually recommending this for couples, because what it does, it's basically an organizer, and it helps the surviving family members know where's your bank accounts, where, who do you deal with at the insurance company and what have you, so that they're not lost. And what I love about it is that I've watched family members. I just got a text message from Patty, says you are in deep, deep trouble.
Patty, we love you, Patty. We love you, Patty. No, you know what? She's right in giving.
Yeah.
That is good, because I have all of my affairs taken care of, because this is a horrible truth, but it is a truth. Death brings out the ugly in the
Yeah.
people that remain behind. So if you don't have your affairs in order and
Yeah.
clearly documented and who's going to be in charge, your children, no matter how much we love our kids and we think they're
Yeah.
perfect, it brings out the ugly in them.
Yeah.
So you do it ahead of time, so there
Yeah.
isn't any ifs and buts about it.
Yeah. And there's several comments about great idea. I have this list. I actually created something that I called the treasure map a couple of years ago, but it doesn't cover a tenth of what this book it has asked me to put together. So again, I'm hanging it out there. Again, I have no connection to the author. I do not get a percentage of sales or anything like that. It's just like my endorsement of Spoonful of Comfort at the top of the conversation. I think this is it was a little bit of a shock when I first saw it, but I think this is a brilliant gift for a loved one. So the name of the book again.
Do you know,
honey, where did you get this? Did you get this on Amazon? It's from Peter Pauper Press, and the title is called. And I'm answering this. Again. I'm answering this for somebody. Michelle Johnson just said, "What is the name of the book? Written by who?" It is called "I'm Dead Now What," and it's called a planner, and it's from the Peter Pauper Press. Important information about my belongings, my business affairs, and my wishes. Patty says that she bought it at Barnes and Noble. So I'm sure it's available on Amazon. And thank you, Amber. It's $12.99 on Amazon. Now I know that my wife only spent $12.99 on my Valentine's gift.
Oh, please.
Patty, now you're in deep, deep trouble.
No, actually, she's not, because if you didn't share that book, no one would have looked it up to find out how much it was. So there you have it. Yeah. You're still in trouble, Dr. Joe.
Wait, that's every day of my world, Jules.
Well, listen, I'm always going to take Patty's side.
Oh, of course. And you know what? I usually end up doing the same. So there you go.
Yeah.
So Jules, again, thank you for being a part of tonight's conversation. You really, you brought a spicy side to it. And I think that the documents brought some heat too. I honestly to God, I feel like I've been eating the Doritos extra spicy bread, the red bag of Doritos. But by the way, Jules, I just want to share, Patty says, I love Jules. It's right there.
And I love Patty. And Patty, when you're at the Sarasota breakfast company, I want to come up because I keep asking this man over here, when do I get to meet the wife? But you're always, she goes in. She's busy. I know she's.
Her alarm is actually set for 1:30 in the morning because she'll be at the commissary kitchen by 3 a.m. making the cinnamon rolls. I actually have, if I were smart, I would actually find a way to show the video of how they make these rolls. It's incredible. But the most important thing is when they end up on your plate,
they're so good.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm not a carb guy, but I am when they're around. So
yeah, they're so good. Even Scott. Scott from Recovery Addict, we made him bring it home to his wife.
Scott likes them. Scott was a fan. And, so hopefully I'll be able to figure out how to package these up and send them out to some of the advocates. But hey, listen, Jules, let's land this plane. And, I want to thank everybody for hanging in. I thought this would be kind of a fun, love you too, Julesy. Love you too. I thought tonight would be kind of fun. Honestly, I laughed a lot more than I expected to. But I also wanted everybody to know that, when the jury was dismissed after the verdict and then punitive damages award, this thing didn't end. And this is going to keep going on at least until April 17th, God willing. It'll be over then. But we know that that's not likely. So this, you know, if you listen to Kurt at Uncivil Law, this could be going on for another 5 years. Yeah. So let's all do what we can to not only help the Kowalskis move forward from their tragedy, but there are other people in our lives that have suffered similarly. Let's remember that, you know, if we have an opportunity to help pull somebody up, let's do it. Okay. But most importantly, and Sally, I know that you're a big believer in this. You know, we have to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves. And Sally, that means getting enough sleep. So it's got to be way too late in the UK. Go to sleep. But we've got to take care of ourselves if we're going to take care of others. And that's why we're here. And that's what I love about this community. Thursday night, we'll have the amazing Dr. Scott Richards. We will have the incredible 15-year-old daughter and her mom. And I'm being cagey. I'm not using their names yet because I haven't gotten their permission to talk about who they are. Want to be respectful and mindful. But you will fall in love with them just like I did. I guarantee you. So Thursday night, 6 o'clock Eastern, I'll see you back here. Don't forget to hit like. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already. And please tell your friends if you liked the content, invite them to join us. Peace out. Take care of yourself so you can take care of others. Good night.
I will tell you without hesitation, I will tell you that I did not have this anywhere in my 5-year plan, Mr. Anderson.
That much I believe. Yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone. Make sure that you take care of yourself so that we can be taking care of others. I'll look forward to seeing you in the coming days. Again, Kurt, Jules, thank you so much for making this a very dynamic conversation today. I'm grateful for your help.
Oh, kill me now. Please tell me this guy's doing some fraud and there's going to be like an insurance investigator or something.
So, Fred, thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you for sharing your insights and your experience, and can't wait to bring you back, my friend.
I'm looking forward to it. You won't have to try hard. This was a lot of fun. So thank you, everybody.
You hear that? I get the rest of the day off from doctor's orders. That's what I'm hearing.
I will write that prescription anytime for you, sir. And, this will not be our last conversation, especially if you can get me Samantha Lawrence on the show.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll see you before the hearing next week. But thank you for the honor of being your first guest, Joe. And
you bet.
All the kind words. Appreciate it.
Please, let's make sure that we take care of ourselves so that we can take care of others. Thank you so much.